Welcome everyone to Perfect Read episode 13. We have returned and we return with the ending of VCT Pacific Stage 2 regular stage. Now we got two whole tournaments left for us. We got the play-in tournament and then the playoffs. Now it's going to be the regular crew, but before we get started, I just want to let everyone know we're not going to cover all the matches that happened this weekend because we actually want to do our pick'ems and then we'll go through all the teams there. We were just going to talk about a couple of the teams that had some significant, whether it's changes or maybe some significant things that came up that we thought should be discussed. So, first of all, we're going to jump right into this. We're going to talk about T1 just because otherwise we're going to get distracted by all these other matches that happen. But T1 comes in with a massive change, big time. Huge
Yeah,
change.
the
And
goat is back.
oh, the GOAT is back.
I
Oh,
love Stacks. I think Stacks
okay.
is he's so good for that team. I feel like they were missing energy on stage, and he brings a lot of energy on stage. And the biggest reason I like it a lot is it simplifies the roles for them. There's a lot less
Mm,
chopping and changing, and I think it lets. I think if it's what I'm thinking of, like Buzz could just play Perma Duelist. Meteor he played Yoru one map, Chamber on the other. I think I prefer him on the Chamber realistically. But I wasn't sure if it was going to go this way. I thought Stacks might be on an Initiator and maybe Munchkin playing the smokes. But if they want to
right.
go like this, then I think it's fine. But it does give them that other option of if I think they want to simplify it even more, which I would kind of prefer. Um, I just think he's sort of what the team were missing when. I mean, we interviewed him about this as well, and he was speaking a lot.
Yeah.
He spoke a bit about Munchkin's IGLing, and he said, he's very
He said he
complimentary of his
sucked.
team. Yeah,
Yeah, he was like,
in
Munchkin's the
the
worst IGL I've
in
ever
the
worked with.
in the nicest phrase, he was basically like, yeah, Munchkin gets a bit too into the weeds. He's like, one thing I'm good at is I give very
Yeah.
clear and obvious instructions, and I go, we're doing this, let's go. And I
Mm.
think the rest of the team responded very well, appropriately to that. I predicted KRX for that game. I really thought KRX were going to hit an upswing,
mm.
but T1 looked like a way better team on that day. And I think it's no
Yeah.
coincidence this when one of the most experienced players in Korea joins the team again.
Yeah, I'll continue on that thought as well because I actually think that, and I agree with you, it simplifies the roles for this squad a hell of a lot. When I look towards Izu, we know that he's always been that guy that's happy to go on the Sova, for example, if we're going to think about him going to Initiator. I was a little bit curious as to Meteor bringing in the Yoru because I always rated Izu's Yoru and that Yoru meta really high as well,
Mm.
but it kind of makes sense when they're running that specific map for the Yoru and the
Mm,
Sova too, because I wouldn't put Meteor, on a init role. Wouldn't put Munchkin on it either. I think him on the Sentinel in that is perfectly fine. Same on the flip side, right? When you think about the Neon for Buzz versus Izu, they are kind of map dependent in how they flip it up as well. And you got that raise for Buzz. So I actually think that stylistically, this change makes sense for this team. When you compare it to like DH, his performance coming into it was a little bit, well, not even a little bit, it was subpar stepping back in towards the roster as well. And it just didn't work in the ecosystem under the alternative leadership that they were going through with Munchkin. So when things get haywire for that squad and he starts to get really, as you said, in the weeds with the IGLing, right? He gets so. From what we can kind of see, is just not aggressive, but overbearing, perhaps in the IGL
Mm.
role when they're starting to lose. Stacks isn't that. It's a lot more clear what that comes through from him. So I think the big thing for me is if Stacks is willing to learn smokes and can change his IGL leadership from an init essentially to smokes, if he steps up 5% in that role, that is going to be perfect for T1 and how they're going to continue because this fixes a lot of things. They're already ahead of the curve in this chamber ideology where it's becoming
yeah,
really strong at the moment. Also, the Yoru. If you guys look at the Yoru win rates currently, it's
They're
kind of
going
getting
up.
back up there as well. So
They're getting
they're
up.
kind of
yeah.
figuring things out nice and early at the right time for a team that is looking to go to champs.
And when I spoke to Stacks, he said he much prefers IGLing on smokes than he did
Mm.
to doing it
Really?
Well, there
on
you
the
go.
initiator. He said in the initiator, it's a bit there's a lot of other things to sort of think about,
Mm.
and it can be a bit more complex. Where it's like, how am I gathering information in this moment? How am I setting up my duelist in this moment? And like, there's a lot more things to think about. He said the smokes role in general is a lot simpler. He can be a lot more passive, and think a bit more about the IGLing without having to be as reactive. In a way with his util. So I think that this is something that they'll stick with. I also thought it
Mm.
was funny where, for people who didn't see the interview that we did, Pilsky asked him, he was like, "Yeah, you guys aren't playing any Phoenix anymore. Like, how come you guys stopped playing Phoenix?" And it took Stacks like 3 minutes to answer, and he was sort of fainting like it was a lack of English, but it wasn't. He like didn't want to blame his team. He was basically, but the general answer is they felt like
We
they
don't
have
have a
no
good
one who can.
Phoenix.
They
Yeah.
basically said, yeah, no one can do it well. And even then, he
Yeah.
was saying that like they don't really love Izu having to play that Neon all the time. They want him more on the Sova because he said his direct words were Izu doesn't have a natural kill sense on the Neon,
Oh
which I
yeah, he
thought
did say
which I
that.
thought was a funny wording to it. But that's why I love him
Yeah.
so much. He's so fun to talk to, and he's so open about his team and the game. But
One
Yeah.
other
I
thing
think I
too,
see them picking up.
it is easier to rip a Harbor ult and an Omen ult than a Sova ult, to a degree. So let's just see these ult stacks. That one, I will never let that die. Ultimates.
Hey, he started using them.
Hey,
He started using them before he got benched. Yeah, he
Hey,
started using them before he got benched.
at least a team started using ults this week. We'll get to that later.
Yeah, there were a couple others that didn't, but
Mm.
yeah, I mean, I think the other thing I want to mention for Snacks, this is a bit of a sidebar, is I also do think his English got even better. Like it was already pretty good because I forget what was the word he used when he was describing Munchkin's IGL, but like he basically said
Did you
it
say
in a very
demanding?
no, it was like a negative word that it was like
Oh.
bad. But then and then he said, and then he clarified. He was like, no, I know. Like you could tell he was like, oh, people in English are gonna think that I'm calling him out, like that he's a bad player.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it's just that it takes a toll on him as a player if he's IGLing
Yeah.
that way. And he would like try to clarify that. And I was like, oh wow, like he's like it's good. He was also yeah when it came to like the Phoenix stuff and whatnot, he was. I was like, dude, you're getting a little too honest, man. Like, we like know you're not gonna play Phoenix now. Like, we know
Yeah.
for a fact you guys aren't gonna afford
Which,
to do that.
to
but...
be fair, is not the worst thing because the
No,
6
yeah.
point ult ends now going into the play-ins
Yes,
as well,
it's
right? So
7
it goes
now,
to 7.
Which
So
I
them
mean,
already
do you
shifting. I mean,
you think that's a big deal? I mean, it's not a big deal.
it's not
I
the
guess
biggest deal.
It's not a
It
big deal for
changes-
people who have been using it, but now
I
there's
think
no
it changes Breeze more than
yeah strong
Haven.
reason to like
Yeah.
push for it. Yeah. I guess that's the best way
Mm.
to put it. Yeah, I mean the whole kill sense thing with Izu, it's funny you mentioned that because I think if I think about how he would have been thinking about that in Korean, it makes a lot of sense, and I think we all got it. But the way he's talking about like the difference between him and Buzz, I mean you see it right, like in terms of the style that they play,
Yeah.
where Buzz is really like hunting for that first kill, and Izu's more kind of about the util and like kind of faking out the opponent and playing outsmarting them and things like that.
And those aren't
So-
the two that are even getting the first kills on this roster because Meteor is just laying everybody down.
Dude, I mean, let's talk. Dude,
Let's talk
Meteor
about Lotus
versus Young,
Idols.
yeah, Meteor versus
Sit down.
Young was.
Oh, that was.
Oh man.
I felt so bad for him.
Dude, I
Like
felt
it,
bad.
I
man.
laughed.
thought, in a way,
I
I thought
laughed.
it was so funny that they put Young back in and then they picked Lotus, and it's like this is Young's map. This is the one
Yeah.
place he
But
was
they kept
good when
putting
he was
him
in.
A.
But then,
But that's
yeah,
where
he
he's
just
always
lost.
been. That's the
That-
problem.
No,
that's
he's a
his thing.
chamber.
No,
I-
but it's.
I
I think
know.
it's fine. It's just he lost the fight like every
Oh, yeah.
time.
No, it was. You could tell who the chamber players were watching the game because they
Oh, yeah.
were absolutely the ones molding. They're like, just go see, like it's free for chamber.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
I feel like that's a tough game. Number one, Young is put in such an awful position for have to
Yes.
come in for this last game where
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like they need to win to avoid starting in the very first games against these
Yeah, the
Brains
first
teams.
match. Yeah.
So
The
it's like
fifth,
it's
sixth
like,
spot, yeah.
it's an important game. So he has a ton of pressure on him, but he's coming in so cold. And then like they put him on chamber, and I feel like maybe if they would have won the skirmish and they could have gone the other way around or something, and it was like.
Yeah.
I think him having to start, that'd be his first map.
Yeah.
He wasn't like warmed up and ready, and then his mental was just boom. Because it's like you're having to swing
Yeah.
into this other chamber who is Meteor, who's won 2 Masters and is the highest paid player in the league by some degree. Like there's a huge difference between you and him when it comes down to aura and vibes, and you're getting aura and vibe mocked. That's how I would describe it. And he was feeling that the table's
yeah.
shaking. He can't land a shot, and like I feel
Yeah.
bad for him. In the same way, I feel bad for DH for getting benched just before this game. Like I really
Sure.
want a DH to succeed,
Yeah.
but this is what the Korean rosters do: is they love to chop and change, and
Well, it was
it's very much like you have to perform or you're gonna get benched. That's just how it is.
the 4
Yeah.
or 5 days, right? Like essentially the flip up between like Young coming into the KRX side for that one. But so I maybe give him slight slack, but
No, I think
coming
the
into
young
this
one there's
like
yeah, there's
yeah.
plenty.
Also,
of
it's very
reason
difficult to
give
go
him
from a
slack.
chamber to a harbor in like back to
Well,
back
that
maps as
too.
well.
That too. But you could tell
Um,
it wasn't even
that's
just that. I
different.
think it was like not just the nerves, but you could tell the Harbor wasn't that well prepped, like individually
Yeah.
and team wise. Like they were. I mean, the Breeze was just they were all over the place. But
To be
it is.
fair, Stax's Harbor as well wasn't like he wasn't
Well, but
getting
I would
kills. He was
say
caught out in the open, but he did what he
sure.
needed to do
Yeah,
in
he did his
the
job.
atmosphere that they were playing. So I
Yeah,
think
he did his
they're
job.
very different like situations on those rosters. So
Yeah. And I think I am very curious to see how Stax's Ice holds up for the rest of the tournament,
definitely.
just because it's funny that I would agree with him theoretically, but also we just see so many people now kind of being put on smokes out of necessity across the
Yeah.
globe, I think. And you can kind of tell who are still doing their jobs properly versus who's just going through the playbook and not really thinking about how to adapt. And you got to imagine sometimes if you're not used to IGLing from that position, like that's going to take a toll. So I'm curious to see if that breaking point comes or not for him.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, when I think about IGL, a lot of people like the IGL on the Omen, and a lot of IGLs like to IGL on the Omen. And like I get that, but for me, I've always liked it when my initiator is the IGL. I love it when they're in the pack, and then your Omen has a lot more versatility. And we see the rise of like these fantastic smokes players. Like I've been lucky to work with many of them. Like I think DOS9 and Monya are the two that spring to mind that I've worked with that were high power, aggressive smokes players who know how to make plays. And if your IGL is on it, then you don't have the freedom. There very few do. I think we could argue Valen can maybe do it. But past
Yeah,
that,
Valen.
we don't really see many of them do that. And I brought like I don't know. I get where they're coming from, and I think it's a preference thing. But I wouldn't have minded if Stax was like, yeah, let me play smokes again. Sorry,
Yeah.
let me play
Yeah.
silver again. Is what I mean.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting, but I think they will do fine now. I think this is a good move for them, and I think they
Yes.
should pick up form for play-ins, and they probably have a good shot of making it to playoffs in my mind.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think so.
Alongside that as well for me for T1, because they have gotten into the spot of the second round, they get to watch Full Sense versus QT, the challengers team, to figure out how they want to kind of navigate the veto and navigate their switch ups going into that game. Because currently with Sax coming in, we've seen Lotus and we've seen Breeze. And if my memory serves, they changed the Breeze comp coming in towards this game after not playing that since Paper Rex. And then the Lotus comp as well. It was them first time playing it for the whole stage, so they've technically coming fresh in towards this series here out of their 5 series. Not having to fully like kind of comp swap after an immediate like previous week playing a map. So I do wonder what other changes that we're really going to get for T1 coming into the next maps as well. Because are they reinventing a lot, or are they keeping it kind of similar and just slotting like stacks where DH was?
I imagine that it's not just slotting him in where DH was, but I wouldn't be surprised if they just kind of go back to the Bangkok playbook, like you can for a lot of
I
these
hope
maps.
so.
Like
You can,
Sunset,
yeah.
you can play the Yoru again. You just bring in, or I forget what they played at the time, or and whatnot. But like Meteor's played the Yoru, right? So just haven't played he just has to learn the Yoru stuff on Sunset. You still have Munchkin just go for the Initiator stuff, and then you go kind of standard, right? Or I mean, if you wanted, like Munchkin's picking up, the Senti again. I think you can just go back to that because I think what that simplifies for them is Buzz, Izu, and Meteor, no matter which combination, they've worked the double duelist so
Well, that
much
was
across the roster that they
had the
can figure that
ISO
part out.
back then on a couple of the maps. They didn't run like a Neon Yoru. It was the Yoru Raze
Right.
ISO rotation.
Yeah,
but
but
you can
I
change that
think-
now with the Yoru and the Neon and the
Yeah,
Raze.
that's what I'm saying is that they've had these pockets of metas where you've had the Yoru or like the Op/Neon plus or Raze Neon, Raze Jet, and then
Yeah.
you just kind of slot those in depending on the map. And then Munchkin just has Munchkin's, I guess, the only one that sometimes has to pick up the pace, but I think he's experienced enough that I would expect him to be able to at least do his job on that role. So, and I don't think it should be too bad. And I mean, honestly, just a couple games and then they'll start to be able to stack it up over the weeks. And of course, champs point wise, they're still okay, right?
I was gonna
depending on how things
if
go.
we should probably highlight that right now because for those that don't know, number 1 and number 2 through the playoffs get champs. Number 3 and number 4 get points. Nobody else then gets points. So there's actually really big ramifications for T1 doing well, Nongshim doing well, for like GE and Full Sensor were just behind them. Kind of every team wants Paper X to win so then they can get the points to go
Yes.
up, take that spot.
I really hope Paper Rex don't come first or second.
I mean, it would make things
praying on
very
their downfall because I want to send I love Paper
You
Rex.
want to see someone who goes
let
through
me,
the
let me
brackets.
clarify.
Damn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Big time
I
hates
want
Paper Rex headlines across the board.
I want the number 1 and number 2 team to be teams that have like picked up momentum and I feel like are like really
Barrel.
hitting good form. Yeah, I would love Varel. I would love Genji. I would love a team like that where I feel like they're hitting their stride and I'm like, bang, yes, you're ready for champs. I'm happy to send you to champs right now. And Paper Rex can go on points, and they're always going to do well because they're Paper Rex. I'm more scared about if Paper Rex come first or second, and then someone like a Global or a Full Sense can like limp in on points. And we saw
Yeah.
them like over in London. It wasn't super impressive. I feel like I'm much more scared about sending a weak board of teams, and I feel like the field would be stronger if Paper Rex finished third.
So yeah, just to I think clarify, in case people couldn't follow along, I think the conclusion is you would want to see weaker teams on momentum get through strong teams that already prove they can do it time and time again, rather than
Yes.
strong teams on momentum, weak teams with a chance. Like
Yes,
yeah,
exactly,
that's like
exactly.
that's the difference. Yeah, yeah. I mean that's fair.
I can
That's
see that.
fair. I don't want that. I want Paper Eggs to go first, second, but
Well,
Oh,
because that makes
we
you,
it.
you
all
have
have
a
different.
paycheck on the line.
We have
Yeah,
different
Nongshim-
priorities. Yeah, We have different
Nongshim 14
priorities.
points,
It-
T1
we should-
13. So
Yeah, like I do want to note that as we talk about that, we can't go through it right now, but
no,
there are an infinite number of possibilities though.
Oh, yeah.
Because as
Oh,
much
yeah.
as T1 and Nongshim are ahead, because you get 5 points for third place, 4 points for fourth place, it's like a pretty big jump. And there's plenty of
Yeah.
teams that, depending on whether Paper X makes it or not, can just easily overtake some of the other ones. So there,
And-
yeah, everyone still had a shot, even with points. Like DFM, I think can technically go on
yeah.
points.
Well,
Like,
I was
they can
gonna
go on
say,
points.
well, they're on 5 points right now, DFM. So if they get 5, they don't. I don't think they can. Like,
They can get fourth place though if G and Full Sense don't get to top 4.
they can leap to 10 points. They can. Yes,
Yeah.
you are right. So then in that world, Paper X.
I mean, if Paper X, T1, Nongshim, 2 of those are for like if they're top,
Yeah, they're
top
in
3
front
and then
anyways.
DFM gets
Yeah.
and they're fourth and then DFM gets third, like it's possible is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Obviously, the combination of
all-
that, yeah,
The,
it's
the combination
unlikely,
is hard, but the bottom line, I guess, is because of the safety that this stage did have, any team can still get through
Yeah.
on momentum,
well, yes,
which is the
yeah,
more
yeah,
exciting.
you can also have momentum,
part.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it should be interesting. I'm kind of curious to see how that goes. But T1, I agree. They looked like a team finally, and it took
They
some
look like
time,
a
but
team.
yeah, and they have veterans, so this is why everyone can always says like you can't ever count them out. The moment it clicks, like
Yeah.
you know they're just making strides. So we'll see how they do. Now another team with relative veterans finally looking awake, and we should put the caveat that RQ did have a rough stage, right? They've had to swap players in and out due to circumstances that weren't always under their control, but it seems like they're set. It seems like they're set on their 5. It's Cushy currently sitting out, and Zan coming in for that role, and man, obviously, listen, I don't like talking about this match because Nongshim's the one who took the loss. But I was also not as mad at Nongshim than I was the other weeks
Yeah.
because Zan was so good in this match. Like, I think,
yes.
dude, his utility, like, forget the kills. Like, his kills were good too on some of the maps, but I thought his utility was insane in this matchup.
He's a
Yeah.
really good Neon. I feel like it makes so much sense to sit Cushy out, and I think Cushy's a great player, and it's kind of sad for him. But I think it really does make sense because if Zan can perma Neon, that means Monyet can perma Smokes, and Jemkin
Yeah.
then can be the one. He can play now. He's playing a lot more Yoru. He can op. He can play Chamber and op. Like that's where Jemkin's a slow duelist. Zan is a fast duelist. That's what you want
Yeah.
in a pairing. And Monyet is now 2023 Monyet again, where he's looking like a beast on the smokes. This is a much better team. I feel like they
Yeah.
will pick up for sure. In my
Mhm.
mind, it felt a lot more like RQ Evolved, and also that game was a great game to watch. I really enjoyed
was
that
fun.
as a series.
Yeah.
I will say, really for Nongshim, I think they should have won it. Still, to be honest, I think if RB is 50% as good as he's normally been, they win it.
You mean,
which-
but they would have had to win it
is-
2-0, though, if you want to say they should have won it. Because,
Yeah,
yeah, the Haven
but I mean, they
should
could
have
have.
been
Like,
lost.
oh yeah, I think they lost Haven. I think they lost.
Yeah,
Haven. But I think
but they could have. Yeah,
could
I mean, it
won
was
Breeze.
overtime. It was overtime on Breeze. Yeah, it was
I,
overtime on Breeze.
yeah, so I felt bad for RB in that as well because I feel like he's been playing really well. Like the
Yeah.
2 games before this, he was in insane form, and especially on Breeze, he's been so good. He's been like the best Harbor player in the league. So
Yeah.
then for him to have a really bad day on the Harbor, they would lose that game in OT and then they lose the series. It's kind of tough. But
Mm.
I think I'm not super worried about Nongshim. I think they'll be fine, and I think it's great for RQ to have some confidence going into play-ins.
Yeah, it's funny
Yeah.
you mentioned the breeze because I honestly think a part of that. Now, first of all, I guess I mean yeah, 12 20 KD, it is pretty rough, but it's not even the kills there for RB. I just think the combination of Zan and Monyet's util, like they were
Mm.
individually so prepped for Nongshim's pacing. Like
Yeah.
Zan's relay bolts, man, on that breeze were I mean and the rest of the match too, but like especially on the breeze, like Nongshim's attacking, boom, relay bolt just lands on like everybody at the
Yeah.
entrance in the
Mm.
smoke. They're all stuck there, and it's like, I mean, this guy's been just prepping for this moment to just prove that Neon's a util duelist or something. And then
Yeah.
Monyet too. Like you said, RB's been the shining harbor for most of the stage, but I'm looking at this and I'm looking at Monyet and the timings that he has on his smokes and walls,
Yeah.
and I'm like, they know, like they've come prepped,
Mm.
and the individuals are making the call. They're not waiting for Crazy Guy to like put everything together and then put it out on a puzzle in a in a frame or anything like that. They're just acting on the timings they need,
Mm.
Yeah.
and they looked good. And like you said, that sets up Jemkin to just start
Yeah.
flying
Mm.
on his pace.
And
So
Jimkin looked so much better.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
RQ look a lot more comfortable right now, and to throw it on back because I've covered SEA for so long. Like I've casted Zan for the longest time,
Mm.
from Nous to Motive and all of this. When the SVL happened last year, and he was on that Team Secret roster alongside PDC and stuff, I thought that was going to be a really good time for them to step up in towards Tier 1. Didn't happen. You know, we get the floatings coming out through the year, and then RQ do change and pick Zan up. Now, if we throw it back to the Frost episode, if you guys remember, we had the player to watch. We ended up cutting this out and changed it, but I'll highlight it now that we know that Zan is playing. He didn't play the first couple of games, but Zan was the player that I did say to watch, because what I went on and I said there was, look out for his reactive utility. He is
Mhm.
so fast in every single moment when he sees something to immediately take hold of it and do what needs to be done on the Neon. And this week is what we saw in that series. So like that's the part of me that I was waiting to see for Zan to really shine in this RQ roster. Now that they're figuring out, you know, how he's integrated, and Jemkin is doing what he needs to do on the duelist or the chamber as well, it's looking really fluid for that too. You've got like moments of clutch brilliance coming through from the team. You hit the nail on the head with Monyet going back to what he needs to do essentially as well. Crazy Guy is getting away with some silly stuff again, but it's working. So I think that there is hope to come through for RRQ again at the moment, but they are still in a spot for me where I still don't just have like that pure confidence that RRQ can propel. I'm
I
still waiting
yeah.
for it, you know?
I feel like I don't trust them in the same way I trust T1.
Yeah, exactly.
A little bit. I think
Sure.
they should improve, but I also think that the road feels long for them. It feels shorter for
Yes.
T1 in my
Yes.
mind.
Right. Yeah. Like, I think, and a part of that I have to imagine is the whole meta and style, right? Like
Mm,
T1, we know these players individually suit this style. It was just a matter of
Mm.
figuring out their rules. RRQ, to be honest, they don't like Jemkin, slow duelist, Crazy Guy, like default heavy caller, and like that's just not what we had for most of the year for both of those
mm-hmm.
roles. Now they're both very good, so they can figure out ways to do it, but they're kind of starting on that back foot, as you could say. So we'll see. But I mean, if they're trusting Zan to do his thing, though, maybe they can make it happen. I think at the very least, they definitely look alive. Like they look like a
Yeah.
team to watch for now in play-ins, whereas before, like they were like, ooh, we
Yeah,
might have to put them at
they
the
look
bottom,
poor.
yeah,
But
of the
yeah,
barrel.
I think they're better
So
now.
no, I'm glad that it's going to be a good play-ins. Like with these
Yeah.
teams waking up, it's going to be a good play-ins. All right. Now, earlier, big time, you mentioned that the GOAT is back, but the GOAT's been with us this entire stage. You were
Oh.
just blind to it.
Yeah, you were
Foxy
blind
9
very
has
Foxy
been
You went
9 is
too
the
early,
goat.
man.
I've changed my mind. I
He's
don't
the
care about stacks. I hate that guy. Give me Foxy 9. The
dude.
greatest to ever do it.
He really is. He
I
really is.
love this team. I love this team more than some family members. They're so precious to me. I'll fund their
Some
trip to
family
Shanghai myself. Like these guys are amazing, man. I think this game was their game against Paper X. People will say, "Oh, they're trolling. They have nothing to play for." No, they had the number one seed. I do think that's important
Hey,
to them.
that didn't stop
And
them trolling some rounds though.
Well, no,
Paper
they
X always,
trolled, but not like
yeah, but
yeah,
they
in a,
weren't they weren't
Yeah.
they weren't not caring about that game. You look at like
Yeah.
the Team
Yeah.
Secret game, they didn't care about that game. They cared about this game.
yeah.
They came
PaperX will
into it
do this in a
trying.
grand final too. Like the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Them trolling rounds is part of the course. But I think Varel were just great. Like I love watching this team. I really think they're amazing. I think they're embracing this perfect style for them. And they were so unafraid. One thing that you see time and time again, teams against Paper X, they get into their head and they start playing passive because they start being afraid to swing them. Because, Paper X are the ones who swing you. That's like their whole thing.
yeah.
But Varel didn't care. They were dying on the site, which I think is so important. Like you don't want to give them space to
Mm.
you don't want to give them post plants and stuff. Varel had like a rock solid game plan. They executed it like truly amazingly, and I feel like they so deserve the first seed after the group
Mm.
stage that they've had. Paper Rex are good, but they're always good. I don't care. Like I would much rather Varel get the first seed, get the bye. They're 2 wins away from champs now, which is just it's insane
It's
after what we've
crazy.
seen the rest of the year. But I really do think this team is like hitting a perfect stride. I think there's something special. And like you say, I think Foxy 9 is just. I couldn't believe how great he was on that chamber. It's like you blur all the names and then you put Yay 2023 on there and be like, yeah, that makes sense.
I
That
mean,
that
yeah.
tracks. Like he was
Yeah.
he was just so they're so on it about everything. Um, I don't know. I just love this team. I could talk
Yeah.
for days and days about how great they are. And then I also think that I've said it on this podcast before, but I think their fan base is probably the best we have in Asia right now. I think Paper X have a bigger fan base, but they're also hot and cold. I've seen them cry when they've come second twice. You know what I mean? It's like, oh no, my steak too juicy, but
Yeah.
butter too lobstery. Like the Varel fans were there from the start, and they had to watch them go without a win for like 2/3 of the year, and then they show up with exactly the
Hello,
same
Foxy
force,
9.
and exactly, and now they're
Yeah.
still rewarded. And like
Yeah.
you can tell how much this team love Foxy 9. Whenever
Mm.
Yeah.
we asked Zuna as well, we were like, what's the biggest thing for you that's been the difference maker between stage 1 and stage 2? We always ask them this, and they always say it's Foxy 9. They were like,
Mm.
we have to give so much thanks to him for everything he's done for the team. And also, one last thing, I've been talking forever, but I feel like, did you see Foxy Nine's reaction when they win this game? When he just
Cried.
like
Yeah.
he
It was
cries,
so
he
nice.
jumps out of his chair. Like these wins mean so much to them.
It's.
This team's amazing.
I'm gonna ramble through a couple of my notes, to, like straight up for this one right now on that,
Mhm.
because crazy game, in a nutshell, just crazy game between these two. The ecos and the shambles that come through, and the sheriffs that come through from like Divine and stuff. Varel on an
Oh,
eco,
my
sure,
gosh.
give me that. Paper X, some rounds throwing some nonsense, sure, that's Paper X. I don't think that they gave this series 100%. I'll be real in that. Some of the stuff that they did was a little bit like, oh, okay, Jin can't land a showstopper to save his life, apparently. So this is where I start to get like evil hat on, or not so much evil hat, but a little bit of an naysay. I was previously very high on Klaus, and I think like he is a very cerebral player when it comes to his util. I think this might have been a showcase here of the switch up of the 6-man roster, where some of
Yeah.
it was showing a bit of coldness and delay when he's away from the action to get the smokes out. If they can fix that, I think that that will be even better for them. But also, like, I don't know if they do make champs if the 6-man roster is going to still be it.
Yeah.
I think that for me is going to be like a wait and see moment. But I think that they have in the current meta, like, hit the nail on the head with the chamber and the sage specifically when it comes to something like Sunset. But there's a couple of other teams that are running that, and I think that the way that they do it and the strengths where they do the wall top mid and they go for these B splits, it worked against KRX, it's worked against Paper X. They are showing that they understand as a team how they need to play it, how to play their inserts, how to play their like lurks as well. I think that they really, really have found their groove ever since Foxy9 joined, like, for the EWC calls and stuff. And it just makes me wonder, like, what happened with Foxy9 in his previous rosters for people to let him go, teams to let him go. I don't even care, because he has found his home with Varel, and that's the biggest thing that we should all just care about right now. It is looking like a just
I
perfect place.
the one thing to note there is Foxy Nine has also admitted though, right, that like he's matured a lot since
Yeah.
being
Yeah,
let go by
that's
these
true
teams,
too.
and
Mhm.
and so I think maybe this was a case of he just needed to learn it the hard way. But once he learned it, like now we see, in a way, you bring it back to not them letting go, but now we see why they originally did pick him up. It's like, okay, the potential was there. They just couldn't make it happen. Whatever happened in the middle, lessons learned, he's matured, he's grinded, and now he's obviously a leading voice as well. So he can kind of like learn firsthand week by week. And it's like, okay, like now it's really coming together. But he's so good. I mean, he's leading the team in, first skills, right? And the first skill, first death ratio as well, even as that lurker in
It's
that
top
chamber.
top of the stats.
Yeah, and top of the
He-
stats across
stage,
multiple
like,
things.
it's-
Yeah.
He's
crazy.
leading the league in almost everything, which is crazy to say, man. I think
Yeah.
he's amazing. I
Yeah.
will say I do agree with you, Komodo, that I think the 6-man is troll. I feel like
You think? Just I wanted to ask this to both of you since you guys were
Yeah.
agreeing with each other. You think Klaus being kind of slow, warming up, that's the 6-man roster in action, or do you think it's also him not quite used to it, having to deal with paper Rex?
I think it's probably a little bit of both.
Sure.
It's kind of hard to know because he's had it before in a series where he came in for map 2 and
Yeah.
was great. But I think that's not super consistent. And I think it's a tough way to
Sure.
do it. Part of me feels like it's like they knew Foxy 9 would be this great addition and they wanted to bring him in, but they didn't want to kick anyone because they've all been friends for a long
Yeah.
time and they sort of came up together. So I think that's kind of part of it, but I do think it does shoot them in the foot a little bit. I think Cinder had a much better game than we're used to seeing from Cinder. Because before I would have said just spin off Cinder and keep Klaus, right? But I kind of feel like it doesn't matter which way you go. The team will probably just get stronger over time if you don't have to do this swapping.
Yeah.
That's my take on it. I wonder if they'll get there. But I do think it's not the end of the world. It's not. It's manageable. But I think
Sure.
it is. I think long term it will hamstring them a little bit.
It has a breaking point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has a
I-
breaking point.
I understand the principles behind a 6-man roster if you're getting like different setups and you're specifically knowing that you're prepping maps for that player to like come in with a lot of anti against a specific team on a specific map, if that's like an angle to come through. But like when you think agent for agent, if you're just substituting out a player for a specific map, like between Cinder and between him in Klaus, it's like there's going to be some different tendencies of the individual. There's going to be some nuances that the whole team has to adjust with. You're not hot or after map number 1 going into map number 2. There's that cold reset. If you have that off day, could have been better for the other player. Like there's all these nuances around having a non-standard 5 player roster, which unless the team or one of the players actually says why they're doing this, like we won't know, right? We don't know if there's some contract that is keeping all of them obliged, or if they're all okay with this rotation, or it's like, well, we haven't got Klaus ready on all of the maps as the smokes just yet. That's why we're kind of doing these rotations with Cinder still until he's fully comfortable, if that is still the move. Because I think that Klaus, is one of the greatest players current. Like I'd rate Klaus very highly. I would rate him over Cinder. But currently, what we're seeing, it's a slow move for him to be inundated on this smokes role, and I just don't think that you can keep the 6-man roster like indefinitely, of course. But for me, the D-Day is essentially getting in towards champs. If you're going against these, top of the top teams, top echelon teams, and you're still bumbling around changing players and being susceptible to having like a really cold map that, come second map, you can just step back up and you're okay. You bounce back, you're warm now, you write that off. You're coming in cold. I don't think that that's going to be successful for them at champs. So, to answer the Paper X thing, a bit of it's Paper X, but it's also teething issues. It's still not finding, I think, the 5 in its strong point.
By the way, I know we said we wouldn't get into the permutations, but they could also go through on points. They just won
Crazy.
one match. They're top 3. They're guaranteed 5 points. If GE does not make it into
Top 4.
if they don't get to top 4.
3rd, 4th, right?
Right. Well, yeah, top 4. Like if
Well-
GE just doesn't make the top 4 bracket,
Yeah.
then yeah. Or even if if GE doesn't or GE in full sense, right? Some of these other teams, then
GE
they
in
would
full
tie
sense,
GE is my point. Like a lot of other teams would have to not make it, but they would tie GE, but GE would obviously have to have been eliminated earlier. So like again, there's like so many options. Now obviously I imagine
and
all this-
RRQ
Does anyone know how a
GM.
champs points tie works?
yeah, it's just stage 2 placement.
There's a tiebreaker process.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's
Stage 2
fi-
placement.
Final standings from stage 2, final standings from Masters 2, final standings from stage 1, Masters 1, kickoff, and then total year season match wins and blah 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 blah. There's
Yeah,
11
but
different
the
points.
rest of them for Pacific thankfully shouldn't matter because the only time we're
Yeah.
getting ties is someone like rises above the other rather than getting eliminated
Yeah.
together. So, so there's a lot of options, but they look good. I wanted to there's one round on there's lots of fun rounds, but there was one round on Sunset on attack for Varel as well where they're hitting A site. They identify Devise holding on elbow, and then eventually they put up the sage wall before showing anybody crossing into the
Oh, is
site
this where he
as
gets
if
like
they're
that 3K on the from
no, this was
rounds?
before that. I think I don't think he gets yeah, he doesn't get the 3K here because they put up the wall and Devi's like watching into the site. He's not holding the angle into elbow.
I'm
He's
thinking
watching
about
into
the
site.
main the orb.
Yeah, no,
okay,
yeah, not that
the
one.
other side. Yeah,
And then
okay.
they put up the wall as if they're going into the site to just cover that sight line. But then suddenly they've actually walled off the rest of the site and they push back sight. And they're like, we know he's alone here. And for me, for them to make that instant decision of like, let's just take him out. If he gets one, he gets one. But like, we need to get this guy out, block off the rest that are going to come from the flank. And then we have good post plan. I was like, these guys have really grown, like as a team to make that call. It's very impressive. I was watching this map with Akame, and it was very funny. Every time Paper X would go towards Foxy 9, he's just like, "Oh my God, Foxy 9, no, please no!" He's just like freaking out. He's like so scared of Foxy 9, and he was right. He was right to be scared.
I felt bad for the FM. It's like if there's any team in the world where you have to go, okay, they just need to win. They need one win, and we're in playoffs. And you would go, they probably felt so good before that game. And we had Akame on the desk after map 1, but it looked like we kind of thought Paper X. Well, I mean, almost all of us picked Paper X because we were like, it's Paper X. But then
Noah.
we had him on after map 1, and it was just like, oh, we actually I feel kind of bad now. what are we saying here?
No, it was towards the end of Sunset. They showed one of the fan signs, and it zooms in on the sign, and the sign says, "The people behind us keep crying," and then they zoom out, and it's just DFM behind the fan. I was like, "Oh my God!" Akame thought that was hilarious, but it was pretty sad to watch for DFM.
Yeah.
Very unfortunate. Now about the Paper X side, I wanted to mention one thing because when they joined me afterwards for a little interview, and I asked him just overall, you guys you were in a unique position, right? You could test things out, you could try out different things, and something that I don't think was mentioned enough is the value you get from everyone learning different roles because now you understand each other better. Is that something that you guys maybe even focused on a little bit because you guys had so many flexes this stage? And he's like, well, that wasn't a purpose. Like we never did it just for the sake of testing different things out. Obviously, if it helps, it helps. It's great. We know it's a factor, but we're not planning around it. But then he mentioned something that I thought was interesting, and he said, unfortunately, I don't think we got the reps that we would have wanted. Right, coming into the stage, we're looking at the group, and we're looking at teams like T1, KRX, and we're thinking we're going to get some good reps against these teams. But, obviously T1, they get pushed to the end, but Paper X had just come back, so they weren't able to really do anything special or practice something focused on that. KRX was tinkering around with triple duelist, and then they finally get off of it, and they just are floundering around, right? And then, so he's going through the list, and he's talking about it, and really the only teams that would have played their game would have been DFM and now Varel. But unfortunately, DFM ended up being a bit of a class stiff on the day, and then Varel was the first time they felt he felt watching it like, okay, like we can learn from this because the other ones were kind of like we could troll around and win because the other team wasn't in a great position or we just got off the plane, and that was an interesting thing to note because it does explain also how they got 2-0'd because usually you'd expect even if they lose, it's like a 2-1.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that and we've seen this from Paper X, the train, right? They start from the bottom, they work their way up. There's a part of me that actually wanted them to be in the play-ins so they could get the proper reps. No, to win champs. Because we've always said we will be happy if Paper X lose Masters, but they will win champs, right? That's the big thing. Solidify themselves as the greatest team of ever. There's a caveat still that it's a playoffs bracket. Like, it's still a full double elimination bracket. They could have done the play-ins, and then they have a double elimination, like 2 double elimination brackets. They have the big run. They have the time to fix everything and really get those reps. So on the back of hearing, when they talk about that and my, projection of Paper X at the moment, I kind of wish that there was a little bit of that, which Would have been absolutely crazy for any other team if they had to face Paper Rex. It was like maybe be an automatic loss, but you never would know. So I think it's going to be a very interesting thing for them because they have to sit back and watch now. They have to scrim who they're going to scrim and wait for whoever's going to meet them in that first round of the playoffs. So they should use this 2-week time block.
2 weeks.
They're going to have to use this very, very wisely.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what they can come up with because you're going to be off of the game for a little bit. But speaking of that, so we only talked about these teams with kind of notable changes or notable moments like Varel. But we'll talk about the rest as we go through because what we're going to do today is we are going to try to emulate a play-in bracket and see which 4 teams are going to make it to playoffs. And personally, I'm very curious how many tier 2 teams we send, if at all, into the playoffs because the brackets can be a little interesting. So let's switch on over to that and then we'll get started. Okay, so here we go. So for those who haven't followed along, basically the way play-ins works, you essentially have like 4 mini brackets, but there's 2 upper ones and then 2 lower ones. There will be a switch in the middle, so you're not just always facing the same teams. And then we'll have 4 teams qualify. So let's just go down the road. The very first match, KRX versus Onside Gaming. Onside Gaming just signed a contract with a different partnership.
Yeah, I saw that.
This is an Onside slam dunk.
Slam dunk.
KRX.
You don't trust in Hyunmin?
I don't trust in Hyunmin.
Ona Pixel's going to Shanghai. Yum Yum's got his biggest fan booking his ticket right now. You don't think he's gonna fire him?
It's only Hyunmin. That's the problem.
I also think Homies is coming back with some revenge. Did you hear what Stax said about it in the interview as well? He was like, "Yeah, look, I spoke to Homies, and he was like, yeah, he said you better win because I want KRX." They're hungry.
So funny.
They have the Wonder Kid of Siesta. And they have I think tier 2 teams are the favorites. They are the favorites. Like, it's ludicrous for people to think otherwise in my head. So Onside Gaming, this is an easy onside pick for me.
You think tier 2 by default should start as favorites because of like the prep and everything?
Yeah, well, I think it's not just prep, but I think momentum is a huge thing. Like, so for Onside to qualify to get to play-ins, they played 11 games of their split 2 and they're 10-1. They've more than doubled the reps of KRX and they have a winning mentality to it, coming off the back of a best of 5 win. These are teams that have put together a whole year of winning. They're in a winning mindset. This is the worst KRX have ever looked, and you just know the vibe inside KRX is going to be horrendous, while the vibe inside Onside is going to be fantastic. And the same is true for all of these tier 2 teams. To win through tier 2 is incredibly hard, and to lose in tier 1 is incredibly easy. So
True.
I think the tier 2 teams are massive favorites.
That's true. Do you think that Awake going out of this roster though, and Hermes coming in with like the little time that they have is going to be a massive problem? Because the uniqueness of Onside was that Awake was very flexible across multiple different aspects. Initiator, Sentinel, Controller, Duelist, right?
And Phoenix,
Phoenix is the Duelist, just the Phoenix, yeah. Do you think that that's going to be a massive change for Hermes?
No, personally, no, because at the end of the day, it didn't revolve around Awake because it was still Siesta and I would say like Wolverine or Cloudy depending on the roles, right? Yeah, and so it's really the flex was the flex. Like I will support what the team, I'll do what the team needs in this role. Hermes is a really flexible player. Like I know the people who don't know Hermes' history are gonna look at him on KRS and be like, I don't know, man. Like he didn't look that good on that Yoru. But that's because they wanted him to play like Flashback, who was like a really godlike Yoru. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you look at his history, he's been very flexible. He's called in different positions as well. And I think him slotting into Onside is way easier than slotting into KRX. I also think like if he has to play the Phoenix is much more. It's much easier to install than a crazy macro Yoru and like supporting support the Waylay type Yoru. So I imagine that the style shouldn't change. Hermes is not going to be pressured to have to carry. Right, that's not his role on this team. And I think it should be okay as long as, I mean, obviously it kind of comes down to how much earlier did they actually know. And, the comms, I think, is just the biggest thing because Hermes didn't play with them during that streak. But if he can just slot into the comms, then I think it should be okay.
Yeah. I still also think Onside for this, by the way.
Yes, I do too. Yeah. I'm also just excited for Onside. So.
Oh, yeah.
All right. let's go to the next one. RQ versus Sharper Esports.
So I'll kick off this one.
Oh.
Before last week, this for me would have been Sharper. Given last week, I might slightly lean to RRQ if they're finding their own feeding, because RRQ play a slow macro game. They like to play teams that also play a slow macro, and that's what Sharper do. Even though they're from Thailand, and everyone thinks Thailand is just run, gun. No, that's not Sharper. I think that if you're looking at this whole bracket, RRQ might actually be Sharper's like Achilles heel. So that's why I would kind of lean slightly to RRQ, and I mean like slightly.
Slightly.
Yeah,
Okay.
for me.
I think Sharper. I think, look,
Ooh.
RRQ, they got those 2 wins at the end, but I think they should have lost to Nongshim, in my mind. And I think the game against Full Sense was a little too close for my liking, even with all.
Let us
with
just
all being
remind
said.
everybody that this guy was like the biggest Notion Red Force hater for
Look,
3 weeks, 4 weeks, like a
look,
full month.
I still hate them. Don't worry. But
I just hate them a little less.
I hate them a little less when they do things that are more sensible. But I still think Sharper. I feel like everything else is going in their direction. And yes, RQ, the camp is feeling a little bit better. But I think they are still figuring it out. I think Monya is putting in monumental performances for them. And if he has it all a slower day, then I start to worry for this team, because I don't think Jemkin is at the 100% Jemkin form that we've seen from him. So a lot of it's fallen onto Monya to hit these big multi-kills. And I just worry that Sharper are going to be different enough that he might not be able to be as consistent. So I'm leaning Sharper.
All right.
Fair,
You know
fair.
what? I'm in the same boat that last week. Like, I kept mentioning Sharper as kind of actually my dark horse, because I
Yeah,
think
you
the
did.
style,
Yep.
the fact that they can do that slow style, traditional 2-1-2, 1-2-2 defaults, like. But again, like if RQ has finally found their groove, dude, crazy guy feeds off of defaults. Oh, you guys
Yeah,
want to start 2-1-2? Oh, I love starting 2-1-2. Like this guy loves defaults, and I think. And you mentioned Jemkin's not in prime form. I think, dude, you go slow against Jemkin, man. He gets the op. It's
Yeah, I mean,
over.
I see it. I see what you're going
Yeah.
from.
The other thing is I think Sharper would feed off of tier 1 teams that might even like trip over themselves, so to speak, like because they get a overheat, or for instance, like current KRX, maybe they're just doing too many funky things, whatnot. But I'm looking at Sharper, and as much as I think they're all great players, I'm not really looking at any one person to be like, oh, Jemkin's popping off, I can pop off against him. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Yeah.
not seeing that kind of star power from this roster.
Can I?
So I gotta give it to RQ.
I'll add a bit of something that you guys might not have seen, by the way. So during SEA and even into the play-ins, Pearl was still in the map pool, even though that it was out for like Summit was out for weeks at that point. They still stuck with the whole tournament through Pearl. So that's for Sharper and for Zipto Esports here, 555 if you go and look at the VLR page for it. Sharper were a Pearl team. Like, that was their map. They have not seen Summit play yet. So I think that might actually pose a little bit of a problem too if RRQ maybe want to swing that way, or if they want to try and bring it over towards, like a weaker state of Lotus that Sharper don't even play anymore, because that was always a worry for them. So I think that there's a couple of maps in this pool at the moment as well, which will actually be a bit of a problem for Sharper.
Yeah, they also have a Lotus permaban as well. So the map pool's actually not great for them in theory. Obviously,
they've had enough time.
They have, but again, it's non-official, non-capacity. They also have to fly to Korea big time. Remember, we always talk about the comfort. You mention about the comfort factor.
Yeah, but I think momentum is sort of. I think comfort is a nice addition, but it's not everything. I think momentum is a much bigger point.
Sure.
But I see where you're coming from. I do think I agree that stylistically this is as good as a matchup as you can get if you're RRQ.
Yes,
I think Sharper was the team
that
wanted.
for sure.
Correct. Yes.
That for sure. Yeah.
And if we flip at the next one, I am very, very sad that none of the Thai teams are actually going up against Full Sense, because oh boy, I would have loved to see like Full Sense against a Thai team and just Frost against like Surf, for example, or against the Zipto guys, and they're just absolutely going balls to the wall against them. Imagine Primi, man. Like, I will not lose to another Thai team. We will focus up. I'm so sad that we don't get that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we might.
Potentially.
in the lower bracket.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah.
yeah, probably not right
Um,
away. I mean, on that note, full sense. I mean,
Okay, this is
who's
where I
got
flip.
faith?
I'm on full sense for this.
You're on full sense with this.
I flip on this. I flip on this
You're
for
on
sure.
full sense with this, with what they're doing.
Yeah.
No timeouts.
No,
Turn
no,
the
no, no, no.
undead like
Okay,
that,
okay.
fragging
This-
and losing.
the-
You're
The last week meant nothing to them. It meant
Yeah.
absolutely nothing to them. And you could, I think, it was actually a super winnable game. I think if Frost does call a timeout, but he decides not to, or which you can agree with or you can disagree, but it was a winnable game for them against Gen G that are top
it
of the group.
was.
And I think with timeouts, they would probably win that. I think they're looking up, and I also think they weren't even playing their best stuff. There's no way they're showing they're playing stuff yet. I'm so confident that they have something ready and in store, and I can trust Full Sense to lock in. Normally, the end of the year, Full Sense are good. They think like stage 2 last year, they hit that format, and I feel like they should be able to do it again. And then part of it is also I rate QT Dig the lowest of the play-in teams.
sure.
So I mean, I think we've had a few different pros tell us that QT Dig are quite scary. So maybe I'm wrong on this, but for me, I just worry that the Japanese league isn't very strong. I feel like
Hmm.
we routinely see these players go down, they go to Japan. They like I remember when Absol got picked up. Everyone telling me, "Oh, Absol's going to be the guy. You should
Dude,
see what
yeah.
he's doing over in Japan." And it's like, okay. And then even like Flicker goes down and farms Japan, and then he comes back to Kyrex and he has a bad time. Like it's a bit of a different role, so it's a bit of whatever. But I think, and I also think like they're not quite as experienced as the reject guys, and I just think for me it's a combination of everything. Yes, they have that momentum, and Full Sense definitely don't have momentum, but I think now is the time for the Full Sense lock-in.
I listen, Komodo. I don't know where you stand, but here's where I stand. People know. I mean, in fact, people take it too far. But like, I actually agree with a lot of the kind of coaching or Valorant coaching philosophy that Frost has. Like, I like the theory that he has. I'm kind of on
Mhm.
board with the creativity and whatnot. I've also said that Crew's one of the best IGLs. You know, a Primi, obviously, no one ever has to repeat that. They're a good team. But listen, at some point, I don't know what you guys are talking about freaking Monday through Thursday. Right? I don't know what's going on until Thursday lunchtime. All I see is freaking either Thursday evening or Saturday evening. You guys are going absolute garbage can mode. And after 5 weeks of that, or 4 weeks of that, unless you show it to me on stage, like we're at a point where I'm like, I mean, I know you guys can do better, but who knows why it's not happening? You know, like I just don't, and I can't put my faith in them until they show it again. You know, I mean, listen, unless you want to talk negotiations for payroll next year, like that might change it. But I'm not obligated. So I'm seeing what I'm seeing. That's it. Like that's all I'm seeing. So I gotta go with QT Dig. I agree that QT Dig from the outside is. I don't know if weakest is the right word because I think there's actually a really good chance that Zipto ends up being the weakest. I think Zipto probably has like the biggest variation in my opinion, where their floor could end up being really low. But in terms of like average, the average is probably the least exciting for QT Dig. Although I don't know if this means anything. I ran into Persia on Sunday, and I was like, "Man, it's a shame. It's a shame we won't see you." And he was like, "Well, we lost." And I was like, "I mean, that's what I mean. You lost." And he's like, "Well, we lost because we were worse." And I was like, "Persia, come on. Like, at some point, you got to have some emotion." He's like, "What do you mean? We were just worse. Like, we're just a worse team. Reject was the worst team." And I was like, this guy, man. Like, the freaking banger of a BO5. He's like, "Yeah, we were just worse,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm going with QT Dig.
I mean,
Komodo?
If you take it from an outside view, a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh, full sense, QT, dig, no." But it's like I can see arguments on both sides, and I'll start by saying my side of this one is full sense, but I can definitely see a QT. And the reasoning for this is a coin flipper for me. If we flip the coin, that's what I would honestly do for this series because
Sure.
I've seen high highs for PKM. I've seen low lows on his Neon as well. We see
Oh,
Cruz
yeah.
struggling in the firepower department, but he reads a good game. We see collectively QT Dig be a high fragging challengers team within the Japanese region as well, right? Against the likes of Reject. If you guys didn't see that best of 5 final map goes 13-11, crazy things happening. Reject were they actually worse on the day? I don't know. There were a couple of rounds in that were wrong. We won't get into that. I think this is the scenario right now, though, that for Full Sense, whatever that they've been doing, they are going to recognize that it has not been working. They need to fully lock in towards this if they want to make champs. They've been bumbling around with all of these roles, with Primi doing, the deadlocks and stuff. And yes, he's still getting frags, but when it comes toward this series, is he going to go on a Jet map, not playing Jet, and see PKM fly above him and take him out? Absolutely not. I think this is the time that with how even Jip Boys are starting to step up more on the duelist role. We're seeing some good decisions being made from them as a whole. We're seeing Sephiroth actually start to look more comfortable now as well. I feel like Full Sense they have the ability to win this one, and I think that they will. But it's a hard one for me. It's still that coin flip. So
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just one of those things
this
where
is a
it's
hard one for me.
it's if you continue to believe in the past of what they've shown, then you lean towards Full Sense because you
Yeah.
believe that it will happen. But
Look,
it just
if
hasn't this stage. So.
Yeah, and if Killjoy was 1% stronger, Margaret, it's not. Sorry.
I don't know if
I
don't know if you know.
Margaret's Killjoy, man. I know his chamber is phenomenal as well.
No, his Killjoy is
and
very
he stepped
good.
into it.
I mean,
but
his
I
cipher
I
is
love him
good
with
too.
Killjoy.
He's more of a traditional. He's a traditional Sentinel, but he's
Yeah.
picked up the chamber, which is good for them. It's funny you mentioned PKM because that's always been his thing. High highs,
High highs, low
some
lows.
ridiculously low lows. But he's exciting, man. He's an exciting player to watch.
He is exciting, but the correlation for me is his Neon always has those low lows and his Jet has those high highs. Just go there. Just stay there.
I mean, we'll see.
Anyways,
They've had time.
We
All
will
right.
see. That's the thing. And as a side note, you're talking about the Monday through Thursday and everything. This game's on a Friday, so if you're going by that logic, it's
So if I'm going by that logic, Full Sense is going to be trash because that's what they've been on the weekends. Yeah. All right. Listen, Zipto, right? I mean,
Zipto.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I think Secret have had these moments where they're good. I think even against DFM, that the map 2 that they lost, they were by far the better team in that map 2. They lost 2 pistols, 2 bonuses, and it was as close as you can get. So
Yep.
I feel for them, but I think this is a prime example of Zipto are in the mindset of winning. Like Zipto were 555, right? So they had to go through that LCQ.
Yeah.
They got the knock, and then they qualified again. They're
Yep.
feeling on top of the world, and I think Secret are feeling in the bin.
They were the team that should have won the regular season league, not Sharper, which they lost in a best of 5. No. Covering the whole league, 555 should have won the league. Jade Lions potentially could have got an upset because they get the wins and they figure out their own footing, but then they drop and drop. 555, as soon as they were the team that were dropped into the LCQ, I knew that they were going to win that one. If Sharper were in the LCQ, I think it would have been a little bit different because just of the different way that the teams have their dynamic of aggression versus the stock standard, 1-2-2's defaulty structures. It would have been very different. In this specific game against Team Secret, Zipto arguably have the fire advantage. They'll even have the calling structure over Staron.
I
should
will
know
say
this one.
I think this should be Zipto all day on paper, but I also think the one thing is Spin has played against 555 and has a great record against them, and Styron has played against 555 and has a great record against them. I think they will understand how to beat it in the same way they understood how to beat KRX, which gives me some hope for Secret, but I worry in the execution because I feel like they haven't been able to execute anything since the KRX game.
Yeah.
So I think even this is where I feel like they'll come in with the answers, but I think they're just not composed enough to get it done in the server.
Styron's cards that he had to play on Motive are very different than what he has to play on Secret, though. They play them very differently. So I understand where you're coming from. Styron is, grown up in SEA, so have all the Zipto guys, right? So I can see some of the Team Secret guys, to be fair. But I would still put Zipto for this.
Yeah, I am curious how Zeus will do in this one because in some ways, lots of pressure, last chance of not just 2027, but of the VCT format as we know it, right? He's only gotten this one stage to be able to play. So there is pressure. On the other side, it's like, well, we're starting off against a tier 2 team. A little bit of pressure is off. Just go frag, right? Do your thing. So kind of curious. Now, we covered the Challengers teams in relative detail last week. So for those of you who missed it, if you want to know more about the teams, you can check that out. But we're talking more about kind of the likelihood here. I would say that Zipto actually looks okay for map pool as well. Like they seem pretty well rounded. Now they overall have a pretty good record, so take it with a grain of salt. But also,
Give me
interestingly
Lotus in
enough,
this.
they're they're a team that doesn't rely on Neon. And I
no.
thought that was interesting in
Yeah.
in this meta. So I'm curious to see how they do, because if their duelists are able to continue that route without a Neon, I mean they'll be showing up a lot of teams.
For me on that, Doffy's Jet will be very interesting to see if he can shut down on these aggressive wing battles, can shut down Zeus, unless they are targeting, getting Endoist curveballs if they still run the Phoenix out or not. If the switch ups come in the veto as well and they're running the Sage instead, that'll be quite interesting, because Endoist does have a pretty gnarly Sage, but I do know that they've recently switched away from that. So
I think so.
they can bring it out if they need to.
They could.
Which would be
They've got
cool
some
thing.
flexibility.
Yeah.
They're an interesting team to watch. Like their map pool is relatively safe. Their agent pool, they can work with what they've got. They've proven it. So, all right, let's see who continues. All right, Zeta onside. We're all on the same
Onside.
page. Yeah.
Onside.
Yeah, onside
All
for
right.
this one.
Yeah. Okay.
RRQ in the next one for me.
RRQ.
DFM are overhyped. It's RRQ. I think if RRQ are
Wait,
here
did you
in this
not
game,
pick Sharper to beat RRQ?
I did, and I would have Sharper over DFM.
DFM? They're not that bad, man.
I don't think they're bad. I just think this is an unfortunate bracket. I think RRQ take them.
Wait, let's do it. Let's do a little thought exercise. What part of the bracket would DFM look okay in?
The lowest.
Beta game. The lowers, he
Look,
says.
I think the point of doing pick'ems, right? I think especially if RRQ do beat Sharper, then they've won 3 in a row. They've fended off a dangerous-looking tier 2 team. Vibes are all-time high. Momentum coming into it. Then I think they for sure beat DFM. And in this,
that's got
in this
some legs.
carry through.
That's got some legs.
That's got some legs. But let me throw you this. DFM lose a closey, a problem game against the triple duelist KRX, right? Unfortunate scenario that they have to play them first. They go into Paper X in an early start of the stage still. That was not their Super Week. Their Super Week was the 5th and final week where they best T1 and Team Secret, and they beat a Varel in the middle, right?
Yeah,
Seeing what we know about all these other teams, right? That's actually some pretty strong competition that they beat. They beat Varel. They beat T1
it doesn't work like
with
that.
DH.
You
It doesn't
can't,
work like that.
No, you can't just go like, oh, they beat Varel and now Varel are good, so they're really good. It doesn't work. They beat Varel in week 3 under those very specific set of variables, and that was an incredibly close game that I still were favoring Varel for. Now, the T1 game, that's the most impressive game in my mind. That was the game where I was getting hyped on them, and then I actually thought they performed worse in the secret game than they should have. Sure. I think that was actually
right on split.
But I mean, I think that should never be that close. Yeah. I think Breeze was also I didn't like what Secret were doing.
So,
but I think I thought they would have been cleaner all the way throughout, and I think especially if RRQ do beat Sharper, they'll be so believing that it's on. They'll know it's back. Jemkin will be back by that point, and DFM will struggle. I think May has had a quieter year, and I worry now back is against the wall. Eventually, Akame is going to slow down. That's sort of what I'm thinking. Is he's putting up godly performances from a super hard role. I don't know how long he can keep doing it for without getting signed to like T1 or Genji for a mega contract.
Here's my take. This match comes around. I don't even know when this is actually schedule-wise. Would it be the next week? I don't even know. But
let me look
no,
up
this has to be this week.
This is the 15th. So it's this week. It's Saturday's game. So the game before it, the RRQ Sharper is on the Thursday. So they have one day to prepare.
Yeah.
RRQ.
Yeah, and they're gonna do the walkout. Akame's not gonna dance. He's been locked in. He's not spending those extra 30 minutes the night before. He's thinking about the game. He's thinking about Jemkin's positions. He's about to KO knife his butt on Chamber so he can't go anywhere. and then DFM's
Would
going to
be
win, and
nice.
May's going to pop off. He's done hearing about Gem King. He's done with it. May's taking his
Maytime.
freaking crown back. I mean, also, I just think, yeah, RQ can be on the upswing, but I feel like after, barely missing out, obviously not with their own will, but barely missing out, like the fire has to be under them for DFM to really just prove everyone wrong and be like, no, we can earn it back. And I think they're going to come in fired up. So, Komodo, it's up to you. It's 50-50.
I think that works against them. I think the fact that it was so close and they should have got playoffs. Now it's like, oh, we have to play this other bracket. Oh no, this sucks.
No, they're done being crybabies. That's 2023 DFM. That's 2024. Maybe even a little bit of 2025. 2026 DFM.
My time to come
They're
in.
strong, independent team.
I look at this and I see in my heart and in my head a big smiley face appear, because this isn't DFM. Remember, this isn't DFM anymore. This is a little project team with a smiley face logo that's been brought into tier 1.
You are lost.
I say DFM. I say Rudal
DFM.
Order.
Listen, let's just wrap this up real quick because
Sure.
it doesn't really matter who comes up here, right? Onside's just gonna.
No, Onside wins.
Onside are in.
Okay.
Onside are in.
All right. So actually, this whole thing didn't
It only
matter.
matters
It
for the
just
split.
Yeah, it
Like,
just matters for
it
where
only
you
matters for the
flip.
flip.
So it doesn't
Yeah.
really. All right. So we're good. Okay.
Okay.
Now let's look at the next bracket.
T1.
T.
T1 for me.
Okay.
T1 are swinging up. Stacks as the goat. He's my second goat. Sorry, but T1.
Yeah, I'm behind that. I think
Yeah,
them
I'm
getting that
sold on
upswing
this.
earlier, no matter what Full Sense has prepared, I think gives them a bit of that edge. Nongshim Zipto. Ooh.
I will
See,
say I've been being nice to Nongshim. I've been so kind to them, and I've predicted them twice now. And I
You're not
predicted them
going to?
against RRQ because I felt like they were getting better. I felt like they were on the upswing, and I felt like they were going to go Neon Yoru everywhere. And then they didn't go Neon Yoru everywhere, and then they lost like morons. So I'm fed up with predicting them. So I'm going to go Zipto.
Okay. Yeah.
He's
at
just
least you're honest.
anti-nom. He's not Zipto. He's just anti-Nomship.
Yeah, he's
I
anti-Nongshim.
think
That's all
I
it
think
is.
this is why this podcast works well because you like Nongshim and they pay you, and I'm
I mean, fair.
and I despise them deeply. So.
Yeah. So Komodo,
The
be
yin
the
and the yang.
voice of reason. I mean, both of these teams. Pretty
Yeah, I do
intimately
know
as
I
well.
know
So
both of
it's
them.
it's pretty good.
I think this one, blow for blow, is pretty equal. I think this one comes down to map pool at the end of the day. And I think currently Nongshim have a slight edge in the map pool in what's currently active. But I think that there's still a lot of problems going on at Nongshim if we're not seeing some of the Harbor Yoru mid-round fixes that are starting to be some problems. So I would probably, for me, give a slight edge to Zipto. Slightly. But the problem is for this series,
Turn the
I-
podcast off, everybody.
No,
It's wrong.
no.
It's wrong.
I feel like I know we have to make a decision now, but it's like I would love to be able to make a decision on this series after we see what Zipto has against Team
Oh,
Secret.
I
And I
mean,
know we
sure,
can't,
but
but I know we
no,
can't.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's why I
that,
still
that
go
would be
Zipto
too
here.
telling.
Yeah,
That'd
that's
be
why I
too
go Zipto
telling.
here too.
All right, but then T1 would.
I'm going
presumably-
T1 to win.
T1
me
would
too.
beat Zipto or Nongshim. So
Yeah.
Yes, I think so.
Oh, ooh, I disagree with that. But,
You disagree with that one?
I'm just
Okay.
saying.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Okay,
Ooh, this- okay.
let me help you out. They beat KRX.
They do beat
For
KRX.
sure, they beat
Oh, they
KRX.
beat the
They beat
team
KRX.
that's worse than Team
look-
Secret right now.
Look
Like,
how
that's
nice
just
I am.
so
They-
Look how
hey.
benevolent I am. They beat KRX. You're welcome. Advance them one step. That's might be as far as they get.
And
Okay.
they now have a new legacy of knocking KRX out, and Marco never doesn't make champs. When have we not seen Marco not champs?
Wait, speaking of which, I wanted to cover this because it was brought up to my attention during Platchat as well, in that this right here is the end for a lot
Yeah.
of these teams. Now
Yes.
some of
because
them
we
will
don't
have
know
longer
2027
contracts.
circuit.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Now some of them will
who
have longer
stays?
contracts, so like they could still be under the same banner. But and I think for teams like the Thai teams and the Korean teams, like they'll have their own region, so most likely like you are inclined to keep the players. But it is the end of a legacy, and if KRX gets knocked out here, that's
going
man,
out in a very sad way.
everything they did pre VCT gets erased if they get knocked out here. Like in my
Yeah.
mind, people won't remember Vision Strikers. People will remember
Yeah.
KRX kind of sucked at the
Yeah.
end, and that feels bad, but listen, it's not my fault. Big time putting Nongshim here. They're losing. So, like, it's unfortunate.
Oh, Giga Banger. We get it. We get it. This would be sick.
Okay.
I just
but-
want this series to be fun. That's what I want for this one.
For those who don't know, the sharper like core, you could say, is the old Full Sense before they
Yeah.
took over Talon. So
And Sephiroth was on.
and Sephiroth was on it
Was
until
on with
recently.
them,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think Full Sense take this. Tie retie. There is no
Yeah,
way they're not
yeah.
like even it doesn't even matter what the game planning is and whatever Frost puts them on. It's like personal in that moment of there's a
Yeah.
lot of national pride. They're not gonna lose to a shopper. I think they're too good as players to let that happen. So I'm going Full Sense.
Yeah, it'd be so much cooler if it was against Zipto as well to see them against Surf. That would be hella fun. But
Yeah, I guess with this bracket they would never match up.
with this
right?
they
If it
won't,
goes this
unless they
one,
get to
yeah.
playoffs and it's both of them.
Sure. Sure.
I also would say Full Sense for this one.
Yeah, same. All right, let's go down to the next one first. Let's eliminate the teams. QT Dig RQ.
RRQ for this
RRQ.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you. We've talked about both teams.
Yeah,
you
I
know.
mean, no hate to QT Dig, but I think RRQ are a little too experienced for this.
I agree with that. I think a lot of us forget because they look so shaky that they're really like they're a good gatekeeper team no matter what.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right?
100%.
Like they're a
And-
good gatekeeper team.
I
They
will
always
also
have
say,
been.
I think if a challengers team falls to the lower bracket, the chances of them getting out, I think, drop dramatically, because it's like
Mm.
you've had this reality check, and it's
Yeah.
you're not this big winning team anymore. You suddenly you're a small fish in a big pond all of a sudden,
Yeah.
mentally. So I think it's hard especially if it's like we have in this bracket, and they lose their opening game. It's a very big flip. It's a huge
tough.
flip, and I think RRQ would be more okay down there than
And-
QT.
All right.
And I'll add as well, like if you actually look at what we've got here, QT Dig kind of have like what I would argue is the hardest run with where
Yeah.
they're placed.
Oh,
Win
yeah,
or
Full
lose.
Sense
Like winning
T1,
or losing
like-
these games. They've got it
Yeah.
hard.
That's
which
true.
which is an interesting thing because you talk like I've been following a bit of the CN stuff and checking up on all the EMEA bits and pieces because in Australia I'm asleep when those EMEA games happen. But for CN, like they had 2 challenger teams that go up and they're already gone. EMEA, all the 4 challenger teams they played against each other to get like the seeding and get into where they are. Here we didn't have that, right? We've got Korea team, Japanese team, an SEA team, and a wild carded LCQ team that just so happens to be from SEA as well. They didn't have any of these battles to see where these teams would position in the bracket and all of this as well. So it kind of is a bit of an unfortunate circumstance for QT Dig in my mind that they do get, no matter which way they win in the uppers or lose in the uppers and go down and win
It's
or
brutal.
lose. It is such a hard run for them, like no matter
brutal.
what. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
agree.
Tough luck. Secret Zeta. This is
Zeta.
Secret.
wow. I'm torn.
Zeta are also overrated, in my book.
I'm gonna go with Secret not because I think they're overrated. It's terrible that you said that right before I made up my mind.
Just agree. That's okay.
No, I mean I think it's tough. But this is where the whole thing that you mentioned about DFM, like now they're kind of sad and whatnot. Like I think Zeta had to have a miracle run. I feel right. Like I feel like they will slowly break down. This is another one. I mean, you were talking about Zipto. Like I want to see how they do. I'm very curious how
Yeah.
Zeta looks in this top match, just because
Yeah.
Eco had a
Same.
terrible game. Eco had a terrible game on that last one. Like worst
Yeah.
time to have that against GE. And not to say that GE got a free win, but I'm just saying like Eco has just been such a pillar for this team, and for him to bottom frag is rough.
I think the thing for me for Zeta is when I look at their group stage, they had a win against RRQ in the middle of roster turmoil, and then they had a win against Full Sense, who are just they're lost in the sauce when it comes to compositionality, and they're sort of shooting themselves in the foot every game. Those were their 2 wins. I think they were in the easier group to get 2 wins out of, given like in hindsight, given what
yes,
we know
yes.
about how Full Sense had turned out, how RRQ turned out.
Sure.
I think that was the easier group, and they won sort of the two games that were the nicest to win. But in the other games, they have struggled. Now, I think Secret, or I think their run is a little bit tougher, but I think they can be more composed. I think the problem with Zeta divisions, they're so up and down. So up and down. And if
Yeah.
they're down
Yeah.
here in the lower bracket, I worry that they just have a hard crumble of a day. I mean, I think
Okay.
you can say the
Fair.
same about Secret.
You
But,
could, yeah, you could,
like, you
but
very
yeah.
much can. Yeah, so it is quite 50-50, but I have a little bit more faith in Secret to see it through than I do Zeta division.
That's fair.
yeah. All right, Nongshim versus Full Sense again.
This
man.
is
get it
full
again!
sense. This is full sense.
Please,
Frost
no.
can't lose to them. He's
No.
like genuinely. You have to respect it as one of the matchups of all time. Of Frost, I just don't think can ever lose this matchup. He knows how Nongshim play, and he's always very firm on his teams. Of like, this is how we beat them. You must play Deadlock. You play Cypher, and we'll win the game. And then they do it, and then they win the game. Every time. I can't bet
I
against
mean,
the trend on this one.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
such
listen.
a
All I'm gonna
weird
say is
one.
there's a first for everything. So Komodo, it's up to you.
There's
It's
such
up to
a
you.
weird nuance on this series right now because
no
for us to
way.
see Full Sense
no
do
way.
well, we are all theorizing that they fix whatever crazy agent selections and playstyles that they're coming out with, right? Does that change up mean that they keep with that new change up going into this series, or do they then revert because they know it works against Nongshim? Like,
Doesn't
that's
matter.
the dilemma on this one, and that's why, for the first time ever, I'm on the Noodle Boys.
Oh
Hell
my
yeah.
god.
Hell yeah.
You're joking.
Oh my god. I want
no
nothing
way.
more than the first and only time for Nongshim to beat Full Sense to be eliminating Frost out of champs.
That
like,
would be
my
crazy.
God. Well, I mean, they could technically maybe still make it, but that'd be insane.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, no, they can't if
No,
it goes
they
this
wouldn't
way
be able to
T1,
because they get the point.
GE,
Yep.
yeah, they would all be above.
Mhm.
Oh my,
Mad.
oh my God.
I can't
Frost
believe
is
you
out
got
there
them.
thinking, at least I go out with a perfect record against a Masters winner, and they just swing back and say, the one time it matters. Oh, it'd be so
Mad.
good. All right, RQ versus Secret. RQ.
RQ.
RQ. All right. Oh, TFM versus Nongshim.
Well, if Nongshim
right.
are beating Full Sense for the first time in forever, then they are for sure beating DFM.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. All right. I'm out.
In this bracket.
In this,
Yeah, I think
in this
you got to remember bracket pick'ems are very
Yes.
different. This isn't a power
Yes,
ranking.
sir.
This isn't
No,
strength.
this is all theorizing. Yeah, we're theorizing like what they'll change in the momentum, and it's
Exactly.
all.
So
After the
if-
first bit, it's just astrology, really, at this point.
Yes. If Nongshim beat Full Sense for the first time in forever, they will literally go, "Oh, it's January again. We
Yeah.
know how to do this," and then
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
won't lose to a DFM. I'm so
Okay.
sure on that.
Zipto versus RQ though.
Is this? I was gonna say is this a rematch, but it's not.
Yeah, that's what I was
It,
thinking. but
it was
it's
Sharpo.
not.
Sharpo. I think this is RRQ. I think if RRQ have won 2 in the lowers, Zipto will have lost to T1 and then off flip down to the lowers. I don't see it. I find it hard to like. Zipto are also a team that I'm a little bit hot and cold on. I think Sharp are a little bit more well-rounded in my book, so I can't see a world where
yeah,
RRQ loses.
I'm so Komodo. I don't know what your choice is, but I'm just
Yeah.
gonna open up with this. If Zipto had come as the main seed, if they had won, I think I would favor them here. Maybe in some of the other matchups as well. I think I would favor them
Yeah.
here because it's like, okay, you were able to stick to your guns and prove us all that you can do it. The fact that they didn't get crushed, but they let it slip. I'm thinking you got to convince me that they can pull through in a
So-
bracket like this.
The thought process for me, like reflecting on this, is if Zipto beat Nongshim, they can beat RRQ. That's the way. Because like if we look up there, if they had it the other way, then Zipto would be out. I think that is for me like the differentiating series. So that's why I would say that they could get it over the line against RRQ.
You know what? I'm down. I will vote Zipto just so we have 2 challengers teams going into playoffs.
I think I've been outvoted in like 80% of these predictions.
You've been
It's
you've
crazy
been
how
outvoted
different
in
my
every
bracket.
single RQ match is what you've been outvoted on. Whether you were voting for them or against them, we just
See, like
That's true.
I can see RRQ winning this one quite handsomely.
no.
as well.
I think
Like,
I agree with big time that if the bracket plays out this way, I think RQ should be favored. Like they've been here, they've done that.
yeah, I agree with
they
that.
know how
too.
to do it.
I do
But-
agree with that.
But also, yeah, just this, the story thing. Now, if we do this, first of all, let's wrap this up. If we do this, it's Onside Gaming T1 going into the upper bracket of playoffs. Reminder, Nongshim and Zipto, these two teams would go into the lower bracket. So they'd still have a very strenuous run to try to go all
Yes.
the way. I just want to bring your attention to, if Nongshim beats Zipto here and the rest of the bracket stays the same, we could get full sense against both Sharper and Zipto, baby. Like I'm all
That
for
would be
that.
fun.
Like that would
That
be pretty
would be
fun as
fun.
well.
Yeah.
So that could be fun, but
Yeah, give me
lots
that
of
world instead.
yeah, lots of big matchups. I mean, so many kind of like returning players, trainees, whatnot. We've got a good playing bracket,
Yeah.
but
For sure.
All of this, to happen and still just one Australian.
but he's in the playoffs.
He made it to the playoffs, so we got some
Yeah.
happiness there.
No, he's looking good. He's looking
We could
good.
have had
He's repping.
motive, man.
He's looking good. Well, there you go. All right, let us know how you think we did. I mean, honestly, I in some ways I think we're kind of listen. Hopefully, Onside Gaming doesn't crash and burn because I think we're all expecting at least one Challengers team to get to
Yeah.
to playoffs, and that alone would just make a good story. If they can't do it,
It's
man,
just the easiest
they
run.
have been
It's the easiest
They,
run.
Listen,
they have a
literally-
lovely little bracket there.
literally easiest run in this entire bracket. Like even if you get DFM or RQ, it's still easier than like a T1 full sensor Nongshim on a streak. Like that
Absolutely.
is.
Yeah.
Oh my god, they have to. They have to. All the pressure on them. They got to deal with it. So, Onside Gaming T1 Nongshim Zipto. Let us know down in the comments what you think about our pick'ems. Of course, reminder that it starts on Thursday this week, and the next week the broadcast will remind you, but it's like Wednesday, so tons of matches coming
A
up.
lot of games.
That's a lot of games. It's a lot of games. All right. Well, that's going to be the end of it. And now it's time. Our favorite segment, we get to talk about our pick of the week. So we each bring forward, one person, team, thing that we want to give a shout out to. One singular, no plurals. We listen. If you can
I
do it
forgot.
2 weeks in a row, then we're good for the rest. So
I forgot. I was so into the Challengers teams reviews and all of this sort of stuff, like getting
you
into those
forgot.
brackets, and I forgot oh yeah, we do this
Well, listen, I'll start.
soon.
I'll start. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, I should have reminded you guys. I'll start. I'll give you guys like 30 seconds here. My shout
yeah.
out goes to Kachow in EMEA. I have
Yes.
confirmed that he is. I mean, first of all, he's cracked. But second of all, I have confirmed that he is indeed named after Kachow from Lightning McQueen of Cars. I've also learned that he's younger than Lightning McQueen, which was shocking. But that's awesome. He's now my favorite player
Wow.
in the world. He's now my absolute favorite player in the world. So I hope he goes far in the EMEA bracket. Doing
Yeah.
great.
I think in a similar vein, I would you have to shout out Enterprise. I think this team is phenomenal, and I also specifically want to shout out the one clip of Cozzy where he's tracking the neon. I don't know if you've seen this clip.
Yeah.
It's
Was that in Haven?
generational. Yes.
Yeah, I saw
The
that.
neon- the neon goes like
yeah,
this.
ridiculous.
For me, that's the biggest example of a guy who is a Valorant guy. No one who
Yeah.
comes from CS
Yeah.
has tracking aim like that because you don't need it in CS. This is a
Yeah.
kid who grew up on Valorant, and that to me exemplifies a whole movement of these kids coming up who were raised on Valorant. I think he's amazing. I think the whole team is amazing, and I think the shout out really is about like the scouting of Itobata, Shadow, the coaching staff of Enterprise. I think they're actually so good at finding players like this, and they've put together a fantastic squad that have had a tough bracket, by the way, in Fnatic and Gentlemates, and beat both of them. I think they're a scary team that I honestly feel like might be going champs at this point. So they're my shout out.
Yeah.
And
Good.
there's two Challengers teams that are playing off against each other for one of the playoff spots there.
Yeah, those
over-
two,
For the
yeah.
1-2, Fireflux Esports and Enterprise. So
Yeah.
shout outs.
Good shot.
EMEA
Good
there.
shot for them. Yeah. All right, Komodo. You got
I
one?
still don't have one. It has slipped my mind coming into this. So
It's fine. Just say Varel. Just say TK9 is the best coach of all time. Say
le-
Foxy9
legitimately,
is the
actually,
best.
like you say, Varel. We'll give it again. Shout outs Foxy9 for figuring out
Fair.
the struggles that you had in all your rosters, to going through things the hard way, to sticking with your drive and your ambition for Valorant, to finding your home on Varel, and to give the fans, old and new, something to look forward to in this roster that is looking really, really good. So shout outs to that.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. I think Foxy deserves every single shout out, repeated or not, for this entire stage, no matter what the ending, because what an incredible story. What an incredible story. All right. Well, that's going to be it. Thank you so much, gents, for getting us through this brutal pick'ems. It's been a joy. Can't wait to see how it actually pans out. I think it's actually not. Well, I think it's kind of terrible because of one specific instance. But
I think it's
other than
kind of
that-
terrible because 2 people won't listen to
To
some
logic.
brilliant words of wisdom. But
You know what else is
it's
terrible, by
okay.
the way? EDG got knocked out in the play-ins, and they already made champs, so that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. CN's getting interesting. Hey, listen, everywhere is going crazy. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching and listening, we hope you're enjoying the last few weeks of VCT as we know it. It's going to be all shaken up next year. So, this is kind of a legacy coming to an end. We'll see who rises to the top and who has the last laugh. Thanks for watching and listening. Of course, as always, reminder, if you want to listen to us on the go, we are on Spotify, so you can find us there. And we will see you all next week. Have a good one.